Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and you're like sleeping? Well, you were sleeping fine, and then you wake up and you have like all of these thoughts and like demons arrive in your mind, and all these thoughts start running, and you like go down all these rabbit holes and you think about a lot of things. And basically, this was me last night. So I was sleeping fine, like you normally are. You're completely fine. You're having a nice sleep. You just happen to wake up, and boom, you start having all of these thoughts about stuff. And over the last days, like I'm sure a lot of other people, I felt really disturbed, and I have done for a long time about a lot of stuff that's just generally going on in the world, and specifically stuff around like all of the unrest that we have generally in the world, and all of the political rhetoric around fear rather than reason, all of the doublespeak that we have to try to navigate from politicians. And it particularly like kind of hit me that we don't actually have the language to talk about a lot of this stuff. And when I say that, I mean in a way to like understand what's going on. So I want to tell you about that. So if we think about some of the stuff that's happened, I've just got some notes here because I was trying to work it out in my head as well. But if we think about like what happened a few days ago in the States with Renee Good, who was shot, and they were shot in their car, and how that is just one of many, many things that's happened. And the political like reaction to that from leadership has been to call black white, to say wrong is right, to, like I said, engage in that double speak, to stoke fear, to lie, and to do all of these things. And if you think about what I've just described there, I've used like a number of nouns to describe it. Yeah, so like doublespeak or unrest or these kind of things. But also, I find that we can describe it in adjectives. So we can say things like it's wrong, or we can say it's disgusting, or we can say it's messed up, or it's sinister. It's so many things like that. We can describe it with adjectives. But what we can't do, or what I can't think of what we can do, is use a verb for it, like a verb that actually describes it. And verbs are really important to a language. So verbs are like the backbone of a language. To really be able to use a language, we need to be able to use verbs. Quite often when we're using a language, we can guess at vocabulary. We can make some attempt at, trying to use a noun, but we actually have to really know what a verb is, because verbs are about action. Verbs are about doing. The other thing about verbs is that verbs are really important to thought. So thinking of actions and doing is super important to thought. And language and thought are these two things which are interconnected. We can't separate one from the other. The more that we use language through, for example, by speaking, so through speech, our brain will develop. And our brain develops because of language, and our language develops because of our brain, because of our thought. So these two things are like kind of locked together. So when we think about the situation with Renee Good, for instance, or we think about all the other stuff that's happened, and not just in the States, like all over the place in the UK as well. Think about all of the rhetoric that there's been for ages now around like immigration and gender, like generally in politics, just all over the place. we can look at these situations, and let's go back to the rainy good one to take it as an example. So we can look at that situation and we can remember it. Yeah, we see it and we feel disturbed, and we feel all of these things. We feel, that it's wrong. We might feel angry. We might feel like, I don't know, a number of different emotions. But I think it's really difficult to try and understand that situation. And I think it's difficult to understand that situation because it is difficult to actually find the language that will help us to understand it, because I don't think we actually have that language yet. And when we think of remembering and understanding something, these are like the foundations of cognitive skills. Yeah, they're at the bottom. So remembering is like the foundation of our cognition. So if I can't remember something, I can't function in the world. So if someone gets dementia and they can't remember things like who they are, who other people are, what they're supposed to be doing, they actually just can't function in society. They can't function in their own home. So remembering is clearly the foundational, most important thing that we can do. But understanding is just above that. And we are not at a point collectively where we have the language to understand what's going on. And here's the scary thing. We need to do way more than just understand what's going on. We need to apply that understanding to all the other situations that have happened and all the situations that will happen to understand them, because we need to analyze what is happening. We need to evaluate what's happening, because at the end of the day, we need to create ways of navigating this. We need to create ways to deal with this general situation and all the other micro situations which are going to emerge from this terrible predicament that we are in with politics, with order, with society. And until we find that language that can help us understand what is going on, I feel like we are all actually quite paralysed in this situation. So some takeaways from this are that if you know what the language is that we need to describe what is going on and to help us understand what's going on, so we can apply it to other situations, so we can analyse it and we can create a way out of this situation that we're in, you need to put it into the comments so that we can share this language around and we can start using this language to try and take some action, to try and change things and try and push back against all of these wrong things which are happening. And of course, this channel is directed to English language teachers and learners. And it's such a case in point that language is not something which is in the past, and we shouldn't be teaching language which is just for the past. Language is now, language is in the present, and we need language more than ever which is current, which is new, and we need language more than ever which will help us to think, because more than ever before, we need people who can think and people who can think critically. So we should not be focusing on that clickbait nonsense that you see on YouTube and Instagram about, if you're British, say tomato, if you're American, say tomato, or you don't say schedule, say schedule. Like, what a load of nonsense, what a load of absolute crap that just diverts us from the real use of language in this very moment. Language is now, language is current, and what is the language that we need to get us through this situation? Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. What is the language we need to get through this time of doublespeak and totalitarianism that we are in? Hey, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.